Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio.
My name's Brennan, and let's have a chit chat.
And let's have a very spooky chit chat, you mean?
I think it was my turn.
I think it was. At this point, I don't care. I don't know.
Yeah.
Guys, today we have a very special Halloween themed episode of Chit Chats. Me and Brennan were thinking about what we could do for a Halloween special, and we thought to read creepypastas. I should explain, if you don't already know what a creepypasta is for whatever reason. It's basically just like a story, like a story that people have shared online, and copy. It derives from the word copy pasta. I don't feel like I need to explain this, but you know what? I already am. It's just a creepy story. That's essentially what it is, right, Brennan? It's a creepy story.
I don't remember where the name creepypasta came from, but it's pretty much a creepy story that's been shared multiple times over the internet.
Yeah, essentially. And the reason why I'm consulting Brennan about it is because I never was really into creepypastas when I was younger.
Cool.
That's when a lot of people were into creepypastas, is when they were younger, during the earlier days of the internet. I was never really into them. In fact, I'm not really a horror guy in general. I'm not really a horror. No.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. Brendan's going to walk me through this.
People who don't know me personally, this is my shit.
Mm-hmm. This gives Brendan life.
Yeah, Halloween is my favorite holiday.
Yeah. So
and Christmas is a close second. So
for sure. Mine is like the exact opposite. Well, I like Halloween. I like the idea of Halloween. I don't like watching scary movies. I don't like reading scary stories. I'm just a big pussy. What can I say? Sorry, that's a little bit of an offensive term. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Whoa.
I know. Sorry about that. I don't know why I said that. It was a little non-PC. Either way, this whole episode's not going to be PC, so what can you expect? Anyways, so we picked out 2 creepypastas to read. I'm not
going to say mine until I go.
So. Okay, Brennan's not going to be saying his until he goes because I'm going to go first. I'm going to read mine first. And for me, this is going to be a blind reaction to these creepypastas. I've never read these before. The one that I'm going to be reading is The Rake. And I've been told by my sources that this one is a pretty scary one, pretty classic, scary creepypasta. I wouldn't know.
Dude, it's a classic. It's a classic, dude.
All right.
It's one of the OGs.
All right. So, with that being said, I suppose I will begin.
Let's go.
I have mine pulled up. I don't feel like I need to share my screen. Well, actually, no, I'm going to share my screen because I know that they show a picture of the creature.
Yeah.
And just to add to the creepiness, I'm gonna let you see the creature with me. Sounds good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so I'm gonna get my little spooky light here. Ready? All right, here we go. I almost feel like this is creepier if I do it without the light and you just see like the slight like shadow of my face or like. But you know what? No, I'm gonna do the flashlight. It's like I'm telling like a ghost story at the campfire or something. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna try to read this the best I can, as creepy as I can. Excuse me if I pee my pants while I'm reading it. Okay, here we go. The Rake. As the sun begins to set and the trees huddle together in small dark groups, as if shielding themselves against the coming of night, you step quietly and quickly through the carpet of fallen leaves and stray twigs, recognizing and noting as you do every rustle, every snap of a branch created by your own footfalls. You note them so that you can distinguish them from the other sounds, the soft rustlings of leaves, the crack of bracken somewhere behind you. You increase your speed, knowing that night is not the only thing drawing closer. The sound increases as your pace and heartbeats quicken. You turn and in the fading light catch a single glimpse of the hunched, crawling thing that is pursuing you, creeping forward like an animal and yet looking so horribly human. You only caught a single glimpse, but then you start to run. One glimpse is enough. Overview. Mostly associated with the image of a bald, pale-skinned creature hunched at an angle with bright orb-like eyes staring into the camera, the rake has become a staple creepypasta monster, adopted by many authors as shorthand for a creature resembling the one depicted in the photo and placed in various settings. During the summer of 2003, events in the northeastern United States involving a strange human-like creature sparked brief local media interest before an apparent blackout was enacted. Little or no information was left intact, as most online and written accounts of the creature were mysteriously destroyed. Primarily focused in rural New York State, self-proclaimed witnesses told stories of their encounters with a creature of unknown origin. Emotions ranged from extremely traumatic levels of fright and discomfort to an almost childlike sense of playfulness and curiosity. While their published versions are no longer on record, the memories remained powerful. Several of the involved parties began looking for answers that year. In early 2006, the collaboration had accumulated nearly 24 documents dating between the 12th century and present day, spanning 4 continents. In almost all cases, the stories were identical. I have been in contact with a member of this group and was able to get some excerpts from their upcoming book. Okay, so apparently that wasn't the creepypasta. Apparently this is when it starts. I is that true, or is that part of the creepypasta?
Well, so the rake is one of the ones where it's a creepypasta, but it's also been supposedly cited in real life before.
I see. Okay.
So
So I feel like I didn't even give any background behind this. I've just started reading it. Do I need to give background behind this, or
no, most people probably know what it
most
is.
people probably know? Okay, I'm just gonna read it. People will get the gist. A suicide note, 1964. As I prepare to take my life, I feel it necessary to assuage any guilt or pain I have introduced through this act. It is not the fault of anyone other than him. For once I awoke and felt his presence, and once I awoke and saw his form. Once again I awoke and heard his voice, and looked into his eyes. I cannot sleep without fear of what I might next awake to experience. I cannot ever wake. Goodbye. Found in the same wooden box were 2 empty envelopes addressed to William and Rose, and one loose personal letter with no envelope. Dearest Linny, I have prayed for you. He spoke your name. A journal entry, translated from Spanish, 1880. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I see his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow, black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand. I will not sleep. His voice. Unintelligible text. Oh shit! Oh god. I was not expecting that. I knew that was there somewhere in this article, but I forgot where it was. Ugh. Okay. A mariner's log, 1691. He came to me in my sleep. From the foot of my bed, I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not return here again at the request of the rake. Oh God. So that's the rake. Hey buddy, good to see you. From a witness, 2006. 3 years ago, I had just returned from a trip from Niagara Falls with my family for the 4th of July. We were all very exhausted after a long day of driving, so my husband and I put the kids right to bed and called it a night. At about 4 a.m., I woke up thinking my husband had gotten up to use the restroom. I used the moment to steal back the sheets, only to wake him in the process. I apologized and told him I thought he had got out of bed. When he turned to face me, he gasped and pulled his feet up from the end of the bed so quickly his knee almost knocked me out of bed. He then grabbed me and said nothing. After adjusting to the dark for a half second, I was able to see what caused the strange reaction. At the foot of the bed, sitting and facing away from us, there was what appeared to be a naked man or a large hairless dog of some sort. Its body position was disturbing and unnatural, as if it had been hit by a car or something. For some reason, I was not instantly frightened by it, but more concerned as to its condition. At this point, I was somewhat under the assumption that we were supposed to help him. My husband was peering over his arm and knee, tucked into the fetal position, occasionally glancing at me before returning to the creature. In a flurry of motion, the creature scrambled around the side of the bed and then crawled quickly in a flailing sort of motion right along the bed until it was less than a foot from my husband's face. The creature was completely silent for about 30 seconds, or probably closer to 5. It just seemed like a while. Just looking at my husband, the creature then placed its hand on his knee and ran into the hallway, leading to the kids' room. I screamed and ran for the light switch, planning to stop him before he hurt my children. When I got to the hallway, the light from the bedroom was enough to see it crouching and hunched over about 20 feet away. He turned around and looked directly at me, covered in blood. I flipped the switch on the wall and saw my daughter, Clara. The creature ran down the stairs while my husband and I rushed to help our daughter. He was very badly injured and spoke only once more in her short life. She said, "He is the rake." My husband drove his car into a lake that night while rushing our daughter to the hospital. He did not survive. Being a small town, news got around pretty quickly. The police were helpful at first, and the local newspaper took a lot of interest as well. However, the story was never published, and the local television news never followed up either. For several months, my son Justin and I stayed in a hotel near my parents' house. After we decided to return home, I began looking for answers myself. I eventually located a man in the next town over who had a similar story. We got in contact and began talking about our experiences. He knew of 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature we now refer to as the Rake. It took the 4 of us about 2 solid years of hunting on the internet and writing letters to come up with a small collection of what we believed to be accounts of the Rake. None of them gave any details, history, or follow-up. One journal had an entry involving the creature in its first 3 pages and never mentioned it again. A ship's log explained nothing of the encounter, saying only that they were told to leave by the Rake. That was the last entry in the log. There were, however, many instances where the creature's visit was one of the series of visits with the same person. Multiple people also mentioned being spoken to, my daughter included. This led us to wonder if the Rake had visited any of us before our last encounter. I set up a digital recorder near my bed and left it running all night. Every night for 2 weeks. I would tediously scan through the sounds of me rolling around in my bed each day when I woke up. By the end of the second week, I was quite used to the occasional sound of sleep while blurring through the recording at 8 times the normal speed. It still took almost an hour every day. On the first day of the 3rd week, I thought I heard something different. What I found was a shrill voice. It was the Rake. I can't listen to it long enough to even begin to transcribe it. I haven't let anyone listen to it yet. All I know is that I've heard it before, and I now believe that it spoke when it was sitting in front of my husband. I don't remember hearing anything at the time, but for some reason, the voice on the recorder immediately brings me back to that moment. The thoughts that must have gone through my daughter's head make me very upset. I have not seen the Rake since he ruined my life, but I know that he has been in my room while I slept. I know and fear that one night I'll wake up to see him staring at me. Okay, I think that's the end of the creepypasta.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's
So
actually, if I remember correctly,
so
somewhere there's actually an image that goes with that creepypasta.
is it not the one that they had in it?
No, that's from another. That's from another like rake related
Ugh.
thing.
You know,
But
I think the creepypastas that freak me out the most are the ones that like you could imagine being real almost. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
well, like that's the thing with this one is that it was originally, I think based off because like there's been like accounts of the rake for like years. Yeah, this one. This was fan art made for that story. You can of
I
him
don't like
sitting in the
that.
corner of the room.
Don't like that. Don't. I'm just gonna say it one more time. Don't like that. Okay, well, that was the rake.
That was the
Why is it
rake.
called the rake? I don't think that was ever
I
established.
I don't remember. I just remember like it being like just accepted as like the name.
I think the like the my basic understanding is that it's called the rake because it calls itself the rake.
Well,
Like
because like they just call it the rake in the story because it says the rake said its name was the rake.
yeah, exactly. So
So
like
it's like
that's
oh well,
that's what it wants to be called, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, Brennan, you have the floor.
I'm ready
All right. I'm gonna
for my
close out of mine and go full screen here.
for my story. I'll be reading one of the most original and classic creepypastas ever made. Some of you probably already know what that is just by me saying that. Jeff the Killer, one of the OGs, one of the most popular known creepypastas to this day. I will be reading a version that I know because this has been rewritten so many times. Every time it stayed mostly the same, but it's still been rewritten time and time again. But I'm gonna be reading the version I remember like reading and listening to when I was younger. Um, and anyways, yeah.
Oh boy, here we go. Oh shit. Brennan's gone. Jeff the Killer got him.
Oh, wait, hold on. I can't even see my own computer now. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Also, I don't know if you can hear, but some people are playing Smash Brothers in the room next to me.
Just waiting for that Sora reveal, dude.
Yeah, Sora's not even out yet at the time that we're recording
Oh,
this.
look,
So
I disappeared. Rawr.
Brendan is gone. Oh, he's back. Oh shit!
Okay,
All
here we go.
right, here we go. Jeff the Killer, take it away.
As soon as Jeff stepped foot in the new neighborhood, he knew his family did not belong there. But it seemed to be the only one who noticed. His other brother Lou, who was 15 at the time, went along like nothing had changed, and his parents acted like the move was the best thing that ever happened to the family. And to make things worse, every second Jeff spent in this place seemed to grind on him. Even hearing the distant sound of kids playing outside made his stress level rise. He shut the window and went downstairs, only to be greeted by his mother, painfully cheery faced. She announced that she had accepted a very special invitation. The neighbor had come over and said that she was having a birthday party for her kid Billy and wanted to invite them over so they could meet the new neighbors. And she just knew that Jeff and his older brother would make great friends at the birthday party. Jeff rubbed the back of his neck. He felt like something was pulling at him. He ignored it and walked away slowly back to his room to lay on the floor until dinner, staring at the ceiling. The next morning, Jeff and his brother were on the curb waiting for their school bus to come. They heard a sound behind them, and suddenly a kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches from their laps. Lou looked at the kid and said, "The heck is wrong with you?" The boy skid to a stop, and several other boys lined up behind him. His name was Randy, and he quickly made things clear. He was the leader of a group of bullies, and every morning they'd go around the neighborhood taking money from kids before the bus arrives. Now, for all the kids in the neighborhood, there's a small price to pay for bus fare, if you catch my drift, Randy stated. Jeff and Lou glanced at each other. They agreed. They won't go along with it. But while Lou answered, Randy, one of the bullies, darted behind him and snatched his wallet, throwing it to Randy and laughing. It was at this point Jeff. I can't see my keyboard. It was at this point that Jeff did something that surprised even himself. He jumped right in front of Randy's face and demanded the wallet back. Randy frowned deeply, obviously not used to anyone talking to him that way. He pushed Jeff back, and the sharp click of a switchblade sounded only inches from Jeff's eyes. What happened next, Jeff could not explain, other than to say that he suddenly felt superhuman power surging through him. In one smooth move, he punched Randy in the face and took the knife. He then turned to the bullies and demolished them one by one, even stabbing one of the boys in the arm that he used to take Lou's wallet. Jeff stood tall as the bullies withered on the ground. But then he heard the sound of the school bus coming. Jeff and Lou immediately started to run, knowing the other kids would lie and blame them for the whole thing. But there was no running away from what happened that night. The police came knocking to their door. As they questioned Jeff, Lou suddenly charged downstairs, yelling that it was him who attacked the kids. Jeff couldn't believe it, what he was hearing. What had become of his brother. He protested that it couldn't have been Lou, but Lou showed a knife as proof that it was him, and that it was only him. The police didn't even give him the chance to say goodbye. They took Lou to their police car and drove off. Now Jeff was completely alone, with no one to help take his mind off the strange thought. The weekend came of the birthday party, and Jeff's mother danced into his room, chirping, "It's the day!" She couldn't believe what she expected him to still go to the birthday party after everything that had just happened with Lou, but she insisted, following him around and nagging at him that he needed to wear his nicest clothes. He didn't have anything particularly dressy to wear, so he grabbed his nicest white hoodie and hoped that would be enough. At the party, I just skipped a whole paragraph.
Bro.
Jeff and the family showed up at the party, and the mother of the birthday boy said, "I'm so happy you guys came. Jeff, if you want to, all the kids are in the backyard playing cops and robbers." Jeff looked at his mom saying, "Do I have to?" And the mom says, "Jeff, go meet the new kids." So Jeff went out there and stood off by the side by himself. Eventually, one of the kids walked up with a toy gun and said, "You want to play? We need an extra cop." Jeff originally said, "No, piss off." But the kid's like, "Come on, it'll be fun, trust me." So Jeff said, "Fine," and grabbed the gun. Jeff messed around and played with the kids for a while, and eventually he actually started having fun. And he thought, hey, this is actually pretty fun. I just read that twice. Jeff kept playing with the kids, playing cop and robbers, actually showing fun and actually had a smile on his face. But it wasn't before long that Randy and his gang showed up at the party. They were there to get even with Jeff, and nothing was going to stop them. They backed Jeff into a corner of the kitchen while everyone was outside watching the birthday boy open presents. Randy was the first to attack, stabbing Jeff in the shoulder and kicking him in the face over and over. Jeff was able to push past Randy, but one of the other boys tripped him, grabbing a bottle of vodka and smashing it over his head in pieces. As he lay on the floor, each of the bullies took turns kicking and taunting him, laughing obnoxiously. It was the laughing that pushed him past his limit. Something snapped inside his mind, and he slowly made himself get up and face the bullies. An insane altercation broke out, with Jeff killing Randy and then being chased into the upstairs bathroom by the two other bullies. They hit the wall hard, and containers of bleach was knocked down and poured over all of them and soaked into Jeff's skin. Jeff felt his newfound superpower surging through him again and used his incredible strength to overpower the bullies. But as a last act, one of them took out a lighter and ignited the vodka-covered Jeff's head. He ran screaming out of the bathroom, stumbled down the stairs, and passed out in the kitchen. Oh, honey, I have great news. All the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed to trying to attack you. They decided to let Lou go, Jeff's mother told him the night in the hospital. Jeff spent the next few weeks in the hospital, hooked up to machines with his face wrapped in bandages. When it came time to take the bandages off, his whole family gathered around him with support. No one knew what the true extent of the damage to his face was, but everyone was hoping for the best. He held his breath as the last bandage fell off to the floor and looked to his family to see what they thought. His mother screamed and started to shake. Not good. He looked to his father and brother, but they just sat with blank stares on their face. No one said a word to him, so he ran to the bathroom and looked in the mirror for himself. It was a horror show. His lips were burned with an angry red color, but the skin on his face was stark white. He ran his fingers gently across his cheek. It had a strange and human texture to it. It was that his brother came to the door of the bathroom. Jeff, said Lou, it's not that bad. They just skipped a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, the story I'm reading is weird. They skipped like a whole section of it.
Wait, did you say in the video that you were gonna kind of like add stuff from like the version that you know?
Yeah,
I don't remember. I don't remember if you said it in the video, or if you said it before we started recording. So
okay, well, this is an example. There's a whole section right before he goes home, and so I remember it. So I'll tell it real quick.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
He ran his fingers gently across his cheek. It had a strange and human texture to it. He looked at his hair and realized it was now burnt, charred black. And no matter what he did to try to wash it out, it never changed. Jeff sat there looking in the mirror, horrified. His mother came up and said, "Honey, are you okay?" He sat there and stared for a while. Eventually, he laughed and grew good on his face, saying, "Yeah, I'll be just fine." They all decided to go home that night, and everyone went to bed. Lou woke up in the middle of the night and heard Jeff in the bathroom. "Jeff," said Lou, "it's not that bad." "Not that bad," said Jeff. "It's perfect." Jeff heard a strange noise inside his head, like a buzzing of bees, and he couldn't stop laughing. His parents were disturbed, but the doctors explained his strange behavior anyways, saying it was simply shock and painkillers. Later that night, once everyone had gone to bed, Jeff's mother awoke to the sound of someone crying in the bathroom. When she looked in, she saw Jeff was in there and carved a gruesome smile into his face with a knife. Jeff looked to his mom. "I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever." Jeff's mother noticed his eyes ringed in black. Jeff, your eyes." His eyes were seemingly never closing. I couldn't see my face. I got tired of my eyes starting to close, so I burned my eyelids so I could look at myself forever. My new face. Jeff's mother backed away slowly. He looked and said, "What's wrong, Rongy? What's wrong? What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful?" Her voice was shaky, but she told him, "You sure are, that you're beautiful," and that she wanted to go get his dad so he could come see too. But when she got to the bedroom, she practically shook her husband and told him to get the gun. Behind her, suddenly Jeff's accusing voice. "You lied, Mommy." Jeff rushed towards the bed with a knife and murdered them. Lou startled awake from hearing the strange noise. When he moved his head out of the blanket to listen, he didn't hear anything. As he fell back asleep, he got a weird feeling that someone was watching over him. It was Jeff. He held a knife in one hand while Lou was looking at it, he used the other hand to cover Lou's mouth. Shh, said Jeff softly. Just go to sleep. The last thing Lou saw was Jeff's psychotic face looking down over him. Ta-da!
Oh
Yeah.
my god, dude! I have to say, the voice added to it so much. I'm going to shit my pants. I almost shit my
Yeah,
pants.
there was part of it that still got left out, and it was supposed to be like his the explanation behind his whole go to sleep thing.
Mhm.
And it's like his mom tells him at one point, like, it's all just a dream, just go to sleep. And so that's why whenever he kills someone, he's like, just go to sleep.
Go to, I see. Yeah, so for context, Brennan was saying before we started reading it that there's different versions of this story.
There's so many different versions of
There's
this
a
story.
bunch of different versions, and apparently the one that you were reading was like not the one that you originally remember, so you kind of were adding stuff in.
Yeah, it was pretty similar, but they left out the part where they went home.
Okay, yeah,
And so because they didn't say anything about his hair, and they didn't say anything about how at the hospital he started laughing.
you
Because
did a
at the
good job.
hospital, yeah,
You did a good job at like presenting the parts that they left out as if they were already in the story, because I couldn't tell like that they had left them out. Yeah, very, very, very good, very good. Damn.
that was fun.
Yeah.
I really wanted to do Ben Drowned. It's a Zelda creepypasta, but it's so long.
Even I'm aware of Ben Drowned. Yeah, Ben Drowned. Is there a way to like find a shorter version of that one? Because then maybe we can do that for a future episode.
I can look, but I also pretty much know that story, like the shorter version.
You could tell that story like without even reading it. I bet.
I probably could. I probably missed some things, but I could tell the story.
That would be interesting to see if you could, how much of it you could remember from just your memory.
Yeah.
That's a story for another day.
Huh.
But anyway, guys, get it, story for another day, because it's a story. Anyway, that's gonna conclude the Halloween special of Chit Chats. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you, Brennan, for being a part of this. I know this was not obviously an episode that you. It was obviously an episode that you were going to participate in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, that was a given. But thank you nonetheless. And I hope you guys have a very happy and safe Halloween. And we'll see you guys in the next episode of Chit Chats. Bye-bye. I tried to say it in
survive the night.
It just doesn't. Okay, there you go. There's your creepy goodbye statement. All right. Since this is a spooky episode, we gotta dim the lights a little bit. Get a little bit of a spooky atmosphere. All right, Brendan's gonna dim his lights as well. Ooh. Oh yeah, that's spooky. That's creepy. All right. Also, the frame rate is awful now, but that's okay for me at least. Should I get my flashlight on my phone? Yes. This is okay. This is awesome. Wait, actually, I'm just gonna turn this off and just have. It looks stupid. Actually, this is fine. Actually, yeah, no, I will do this. Yeah, there we go. There. Now it looks like it's like candlelight. That is fucking creepy. Holy shit. You look just like a floating head.
I know. I'd watch this. Ready?
Yeah. We haven't even started reading the creepypasta and I'm already creeped out. Okay. Welcome back to Chit Chats, everybody. My name is Antonio.
And my name is Brennan. And let's have a chit chat.
Let's have a chit chat. Welcome, everybody, to the Halloween special for 2022 for Chit Chats. As you can see, we're trying to kind of, go for a pretty creepy vibe here. I think Brennan's getting a lot more into it than I am right now. Yeah, I think that's pretty safe to say. So, Brennan, it's good to see you.
Sir.
I mean, I can't see you. Well, now I can. It's good to have you here today for another Halloween special. You may recall. I don't know.
Just keep talking.
I'll just keep talking. You may recall last year, Brennan, and audience members, when we read some creepypastas for the Halloween special last year. And I'm proud to say that we made it another year. We made it to the Halloween special of 2022, as I've said more than enough times now. And for this episode, if you read the title, you already know we're going to be reading another creepypasta, but only one this time, because we are going to be reading the Ben Drowned creepypasta. One of the original creepypastas, at least one of the most popular, original popular creepypastas
There we go.
out there. Brennan, you want to kind of introduce the general topic of what Ben Drowned is about?
I think I am the perfect person for this.
Yes.
So, for those of you who do not know, Ben Drowned is a Legend of Zelda inspired creepypasta. Long story short, we'll get into it, of course, when we start talking about it and reading it. But pretty much, a man goes to a garage sale, I think it is, and he is looking at a bunch of N64 games, and he sees one that sticks out to him, and the person selling it says, "Yeah, you can have that one. Take it. It used to belong to a boy who used to live here." And he goes home and he pops in the game file. He pops it in, and it's a copy of Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64. And he sees that there's one file on there named Ben. And well, he clicks on that file to see how far Ben had gone in the game, and everything goes downhill from that.
Mm-hmm. And that's the general premise. Brennan, I don't know if you know this, but I've actually never read. Well, actually, I think I mentioned this to you earlier through text, but I have never actually read the Ben Drowned creepypasta or even watched a video regarding it. I know the general premise, obviously, but I've never actually sat down and just like taken in the story of Ben Drowned. So this is going to be a new experience for me.
Then you know what you should watch after this video after you record this.
What?
A little shout out to Peanut Butter Gamer.
Oh,
Has a amazing video on Ben Drowned.
is it the G files?
Yeah,
Okay.
and he used a lot of really cool hacks and mods to the game to recreate some of the things that happen in like the Ben Drowned story.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
it's a really cool video. That's one of the original videos that got me really.
Okay. Yeah, I know Peanut Butter Gamer, and I know about that video. I've never watched it though, just because I don't partake in a lot of spooky, material when it comes to online material because I'm kind of a little coward, little, peaceler, if you will. But
I got that.
We're doing it today.
Now.
Yep, that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. All right. You know what? Without further ado, let's get into reading this. I have it pulled up here. I'll share my screen with you, Brennan. This is a very long creepypasta. But we're gonna try to get through at least as much of it as we can. So Brennan, I thought we could kind of take this on a paragraph by paragraph basis here.
I gotta watch the stream.
Yeah. What is doing that? What is flashing?
Oh, this light that I have here.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Based. All right. That's distracting.
I'm more laughing at the fucking ad on the side of your screen. Stop it.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I'm gonna get that out of there. I was so focused on your specific little camera that I'm not even paying attention. Okay. We're just gonna start here. Yeah, this is the pasta. So, you ready?
The pasta.
This is the pasta.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, let's read this bitch. You start.
I start?
Yep.
Okay. Post 1, September. Actually, give me 1 second.
Already off to a good start here.
Okay, never mind.
All right, let's do this.
Back into creepiness.
All right.
Post 1, September 7th, 2010. Okay, I need your help with this. This is not a creepypasta. This is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could be very well dependent on this. This is a video game related, specifically Majora's Mask. And this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room, starting as a sophomore in college. And a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked to say the least. I could finally play all those old games from my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with a yellow controller and a rather shady copy of Super Smash Brothers. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs.
All right. I think we. I mean, I did say I wanted to switch off every paragraph, but we can just start that now.
Okay. That's why I stopped. I was like, you want to take over?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up the local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, Fuck Yeah, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it. But something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd, if you asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing. I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there were other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man.
Okay.
Every paragraph.
He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for. And immediately I noticed that he must be blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed. Did I say glazed? Yeah, glazed over. Looked bad. I forced myself to look to look to his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video.
Okay, I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he would tell me he had no idea what a video game was. But to my surprise, he said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. These weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason it almost looked like Majora's Mask, the same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots. But given the events that happened afterward, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it.
After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit, I jumped out of reflex and I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was a standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora on its in black permanent marking. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was and asked him how much he wanted for it.
The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free.
I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since he looked like a pretty shady. It looked like a pretty shady cartridge, and there's no guarantee it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game. That's all I needed it to be back on Cloud 9. I think the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine. There was one save file named simply Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying goodbye, Ben. I felt bad for the man. Obviously, a grandparent and obviously going senile. And I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben.
Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file. Eyeballing it, I could tell that he was pretty far in the game. He had almost all of the masks and 3 out of 4 remains of the bosses. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the Stone Tower Temple with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking that it was a shame that he had come so close to being in the game, but he never finished it. I made a new file named Link out of tradition and started the game, ready to relive my childhood.
It's such a shady looking cartridge. I was impressed at how smoothly it ran. Literally just like a retail copy of the game, save for a few minor hiccups here and then, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes, odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPCs would call me Link, and other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug, a fluke in the programming, because our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out though after a while, and it was around after I had beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regularly went into the save file and went to save files and deleted them. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect of the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyways. Hoping that would solve the problem, it did, and it didn't. Now NPCs wouldn't call me anything. Where my name would be in the dialogue, there was just a blank space. My save file name was still called Link though. Frustrated, and with homework to do, I put the game down for the day.
All right, we're getting into the creepy shit. I mean, this is probably just the tip of the iceberg, but I'm just a little bitch, so you gotta bear with me here. I started playing the game again last night, getting the Lens of Truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those of you who don't, you can Google it, but the gist of it is that right as the clock is about to hit 000000 on the final day, you talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears, and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you were doing. Deciding to do the glitch to try and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time counter at the bottom disappeared.
However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora boss fight room at the end of the game, the trippy box and arena, staring at Skull Kid hovering above me. There was no sound, just him floating in the air above me, and the background music, which was regular for the arena, but still creepy. Immediately, my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appears here. I tried moving around the arena, and no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen. Nothing would happen, though. And this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much.
I was about to reach for the reset button when text appeared on my screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized that text. You get that message when you get the room key from Anju at the Stockpot Inn. But why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if that was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was. To even think that someone could reprogram the game like this was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen. And again, like the first one, it was already a pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple's boss? Yes or no? I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react, when I realized that I couldn't select no. Taking a deep breath, I pressed yes, and the screen faded to white, with the words dawn of a new day, with the subtext, is that I
Yeah.
beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I had ever experienced.
The only way I can describe the way I felt here is having the feeling of
Inexplicable.
depression on a profound scale. I'm normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even know existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that it seemed to wash over me.
I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clocktown. I walked out of the clock tower, as you normally do when you start from day one, only to find that all of the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the fourth day glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around outside the tower. This time they were all gone. What replaced them was the ominous feeling that there was something out there, in the same area as me, and that it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow, but at this point I wasn't even considered for my avatar. I felt that I personally was in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the Song of Healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. The music would get louder, building up so as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did, and the constant loop began to wear on my mental state.
Every now and then I would hear the faint laugh of the Happy Mask salesman in the background, just quiet enough so I wasn't sure if I was hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to find them. I looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown only to find nothing, no one. Textures were missing, West Clocktown had me walking on air, the entire area felt broken, hopelessly broken. As the reverse song of healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time, I just remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game before.
Dude, I actually feel chills right now. This is not okay. This is not okay. Okay. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was the combination of the out of place textures and the atmosphere and the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here, and this powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling.
I tried leaving Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black and I would just zone into another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape and did not want to be here. But every time I played the Song of Time or a Song of Soaring, it would say, your notes echo far, but nothing happened. By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the building. I felt that I would be too vulnerable there to whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place.
As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head, and the screen flashed for a brief moment of the happy mask salesman smiling at me. Not Link. Me with Skull Kid's scream playing in the background, and when the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue from playing the song Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran out and back into South Clocktown, and to my horror, the fucking statue followed me, and the only way I can compare this is like the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or, I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. Ooh, it's a long one.
Yes. By this point, I was on the verge of
Hysterics.
Thank you. But not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it. The terror felt so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin and make weird animations I'd never seen him do before. He would flail his arms around, spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to Happy Mask Salesman smiling again for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running into the swordsman dojo and ran to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic, I just want some kind of insurance that I'm not alone here. To my dismay, I found no one, but I turned to leave and the statue cornered me and the cubby in the back. I tried attacking the statue with my sword, but to no avail. Confused and backed into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly, the screen flashed again to the Happy Mask Salesman, and Link turned to face my screen, standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered, while I ran out of the dojo, terrified. Suddenly, the game warped me to an underground tunnel, and the reverse song of healing queued up again, as I was given a brief amount of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again. This time aggressively. I could only take a few steps before it was summoning behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in Southern Clock Town. As I ran aimlessly, a sheer of panic. Suddenly, a redeg screamed, and the scream faded to black as Dawn of a New Day and I appeared again.
The screen faded in, and I was standing on top of Clock Tower, with Skull Kid hovering over me again, silent. I looked up and the moon was back. I looked up and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head. But the Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing. The Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid, and it actually hit him, and he played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow, a textbook appeared saying, "That won't do you any good, hee hee." And I was picked up off of the ground, levitated upwards on my back, and then Link screamed as he burst into flames, instantly killing him.
I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself didn't have any moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by unknown force and immediately burst into flames again, killing him. This time, during the death screen, the faint sound of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On the third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time, and all there was an eerie silence. Remember the original encounter with Skull Kid? You were supposed to use the Ocarina of Time to travel back, and either use the Ocarina of Time to travel back in time or summon a giant. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again horrifiedly exploded into flames, and he died.
As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug, as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time Link was lying on the ground dead in a position I had never seen him in the game before. His head tilted towards the camera with the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move, I couldn't press any buttons. All I could do was just stare at Link's dead body. After around 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before kicking you out to the title screen.
Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, it was replaced with Your Turn. Your Turn had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I selected Your Turn, and immediately when I did, I returned to the clock tower rooftop scene of my the rooftop scene of my Link dead and Skull Kid hovering over. The Skull Kid's laughing, looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and then the game booted up again, and there was one more file added below Your Turn, entitled Ben. Ben's save file is right back where as before. I deleted it, and the Stone Tower Temple, the moon almost crashed over.
I turned the game off at that point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up, even for me. I haven't played it at all today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse song of healing music in my head and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way I was going there alone. Only to find that there's a for sale sign in the front yard, and when I rang the door, no one was home.
Sorry.
You're good.
By the way, just real quick, the reverse song of healing is terrifying. I can agree.
I think I've heard it. Yeah, it's pretty. Isn't it the song of unhealing?
Yeah, that's what people call it.
Yeah, it's. Yeah.
I used it for a skit thing in my English class because they said,
"Oh, really?"
The thing said creepy music playing in background, so I used the song of unhealing.
Fitting, yeah.
So now I'm back here writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if some of this has grammatical errors and whatnot. I'm running on no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game, even more so now than I reliving a second time writing all this down. But I feel like there's still more to it than meets the eye, and that there's nothing calling to me to investigate this further. And there's something calling to me to investigate further. I think Ben is something in this equation. I don't know what, and if I could get a hold of the old man, I would be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate after tackling this game again. It's already taken a lot on my sanity, I feel like, but next time I do it, I'm going to be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end. So you'll see the first few minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and the elegy statue, but it's all on YouTube too.
I'm going to stay in this thread for a little while longer before I fall asleep to answer any questions you guys might have, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories to help me shed some light into this, or maybe things I should try to do. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow to see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit. This is a little fucked up. But maybe this Ben guy is just a really good hacker slash programmer. I don't want to think about what the alternatives if he isn't. That's the end of the copy slash paste. I'm hoping that maybe this is some kind of running gag the developers had and the other people had gotten gag or hacked copies of the game like this. This just really scares me. All right, and that was the first post, and we've been going for about 30 minutes now. I want to see how long the second post is. Okay, I think we could read the second post, and then I think we might have to call it there.
All right.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
So overall, Brennan, I guess I forgot to ask you. You've read all of this before, right?
I have.
You read all.
It was a while ago, but
Yeah. I'm actually intrigued to see what else happens in this, even though we're not we're only going to finish through the first two posts, but I might go back and read the other three at some point. All right, go ahead whenever you're ready.
I'm going to post what happened and link the video footage, but last night everything got too real for me. I think I'm done messing around with this. I passed up pretty much immediately after making that thread. But last night, the Elegy of Emptiness statue, I had a dream about it. I dreamed that it was following me in my dream, and that I would be minding my own business when I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end. I would turn around and the thing, that horrible, lifeless statue, would be staring at me with those empty eyes right now, nearly inches away. In my dream, I remember calling it Ben, and never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. But the important thing is I did get some sleep, I suppose.
Today, putting off playing that game as long as I could, I drove back to that neighborhood to see if the old man came back. As I expected, the car was still gone and no one was home. As I was walking back to my car, the man next door mowing the grass killed the power to his lawnmower and asked me if I was looking for someone. I told him that I was looking to talk to the old man that lived here, to which he told me what I already knew. He was moving. Trying a different avenue, I asked if the old man had any family or relatives I could talk to. I discovered that this old man had never been married, nor did he have any children or grandchildren through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question, one that I should have asked him from the beginning. Who was Ben? The man's expression turned grim, and I learned that 4 doors down, around 8 years ago on April 23rd, the man informed me that it was the same day as his anniversary. That's how he knew the specific date. There was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood. Shortly after, his parents moved, and despite any further attempts to talk to the man to get more information, he wouldn't divulge anything else.
I went back and started playing again. I loaded up the game and immediately I jumped at the title screen when the mask flies by. The sound that played was not the normal sound. It was something much more higher pitched. My press started bracing for the worst. But just like 2 nights ago, the files, Your Turn and Ben, were displayed. Truth be told, I looked at the Ben file earlier. It seems to fluctuate between displaying the owl save and not. I brought up the Ben file, hesitated for a moment, noticing that the stats were not the same as the original were 2 days ago. It seemed like it had already completed the Stone Tower Temple this time. Summoning my courage, I selected it.
Immediately, I was thrust into complete chaos. Sure enough, I was outside Stone Tower. I was outside Stone Tower Temple, and that's about all that I was expected. The zone itself wasn't called Stone Tower Temple, but rather Stone. And immediately, a dialogue box of complete gibberish that I couldn't make out greeted me. Link's body was distorted. His back was cocked violently to the side, where his posture was permanently disfigured. Link's expression was dull, almost monotonous. He had an expression on his face that I didn't recognize before. It was a blank look, as if he was dead. As Link stood there, his body spasmed irregularly, back and forth. I examined what had become of my avatar and noticed that I had a C button item I had never seen before, some kind of note. But pressing it did nothing. Sounds played back and forth that I didn't recognize from the game, almost demonic in nature. And there was some kind of high pitched yip, or some kind of laugh, or something playing in the background. I had all of 2 minutes to take in the environment before another one of those fucking elegy of emptiness statues was summoned, and immediately after I was cut into the dawn of a new day screen, except this time it was without the I subtext.
I was a Deku scrub in Clocktown. The scene would normally play on the first time you travel back in time. Tatl would say, "What just happened?" It's as if everything has, but instead of saying "start over," she finished her mark in broken text as the laugh of the happy mass salesman played in the background. I was put back in control of my character, but from a fucked up camera angle. I was looking from behind the door to the clock tower, watching my avatar run around as a Deku scrub, seeing as how I really had no place to go because I couldn't see anything. I
Begrudgingly.
went inside the door. There, I was greeted by the happy mask salesman who simply told me, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before the screen whited out.
I was in Termina Field as a human again. I might as well not have been playing the same game anymore. I was being warped around, and there was no sign of a day clock or anything. I took a moment to get my bearings as I looked around the field, and immediately I could tell that this was not normal. There were no enemies, and a twisted version of the Happy Mask Salesman theme was playing. I decided to run towards Woodfall before I noticed a gathering of 3 figures off to the side, one of them being Epona. As I approached them, to my horror I saw the Happy Mask Salesman, the Skull Kid, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue just standing there. I figured maybe they were bugged out, but by now I told myself that I should know better. Nevertheless, I approached them carefully and found that the Skull Kid was playing some kind of idle animation on loop. Same with Epona, and the Elegy of Emptiness statue was doing what it had been doing all along, just standing there eerily. It was the Happy Mask Salesman that scared me more profoundly than the other two.
He too was idle, wearing that shit eating grin. But wherever I moved, his head slowly turned and followed me. I had not engaged in any dialogue with him, nor was I in combat with him. Yet his head still continued to follow my movement. Reminded me of my first encounter with the Skull Kid on top of Clock Tower. I pulled up my ocarina, to which the game played the ding sound when you're supposed to play your ocarina, and tried a song I hadn't played yet. The Happy Mask Salesman own song, and the song has been playing on loop back in day 4, the Song of Healing.
I finished playing the song, and as I did, an ear-piercing shriek blasted on my TV. The sky immediately started flashing. The Happy Mask Salesman Twisted theme song sped up, intensifying the fear inside me, and Link exploded into flames and died. The 3 figures stayed lit up during my death screen as they watched my lifeless body burn. I can't describe to you how sudden and terrifying the transition from eerie to terror is. You're going to have to watch the video if you want to see firsthand. That same fear that caused me to lose sleep 2 days ago started to grip me again as I was met with the text, "You've met with a horrible fate, haven't you?" for the 3rd time. There has to be some kind of meaning behind that.
I had little time to ponder, as I was immediately given another small cutscene of transforming into a Zora, and I found myself in Great Bay Temple. Hesitant but curious to see what the game had in store for me, I slowly made my way towards the beach, where I find sorry,
Where I found Epona. Right here.
where I found Epona. I wondered why the game had decided to put her there. The game implying she was trying to get a drink. Unable to take the mask off, I decided riding the steed wasn't the reason she was placing.
Suddenly, I realized that Epona kept neighing, and the way she was angled made it look like she was trying to signal a point to me off in the distance. It was a hunch, but I dove into Great Bay and started swimming. Sure enough, I almost missed it. I found something at the bottom of the ocean, one last Elegy of Emptiness statue. I went down to examine it, and suddenly my Zora started doing a choking animation I had never seen a Zora do before, which didn't even make sense because Zoras can breathe underwater. Regardless, my character choked to death and died, and again the statue was the only thing that was highlighted in my death. I didn't respawn this time. I was booted back to the main menu as if I restarted the console.
One sec.
All right, last paragraph.
The press start screen was before me. I knew the only reason why it would put me here is because save files had changed again. Taking a deep breath, I pressed start and was right. The new save file told me about Ben, how it made sense why the statue appeared when I tried to go to the laundry pool. The game must have anticipated how I would have tried to escape day 4 o'clock down. The two save files told me his fate, as I suspected. Ben was dead. He had drowned. The game obviously isn't through with me. It taunts me with the new save files. It wants me to keep playing. It wants me to go further, but I'm not. But I'm done with this shit. I'm not touching any more of these files. This is already way too horrifying for me. I don't even believe in the paranormal, but I'm running out of explanations. Why would someone send me this message? I don't understand it. I just got too depressed thinking about this. The footage is up here for those who want to see it and try to analyze it. Maybe there's some kind of code message in the gibberish or something symbolically in what I went through. I'm too emotionally and mentally drained to fuck with it anymore.
Oof. Should we watch the video?
Sure.
All right, let's see.
Since you don't have time to do the third part, we can watch the
Yeah.
video.
Dude, I'm actually terrified right now. Oh, I don't want to watch 6 minutes.
You can skip through part of it.
Okay.
I remember this shit.
Oh, I don't like this. I don't like it. Brendan, I know you're used to this kind of shit, but I'm not. I'm not used to this. Ugh.
So yeah, go to the end because I want to. This is like the big, not always the end. Back up a little bit.
Okay, like right
Yeah,
here.
like right here. Yeah.
Uh, oh shit. There's that fucking statue. I hate that face, dude. Oh no. Oh no.
Something about seeing your character die with just that statue looking over you.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude.
Oh, and then the infamous. Oh, good job with the fucking placement of that.
Yeah, what the hell? Oh, that's the fucking. I hate that.
Because this is the infamous shot right here. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, Ben drowned. Okay, I think that's enough for tonight. Wow. That was something, dude. That was. Wow, yeah, I actually, like, legitimately was feeling chills from that. I'm not so much anymore, but I am definitely, like, I just. It's just a lot, dude. It's intriguing though. Like I think it's cool. Like I think it's a very intriguing story. Very descriptive. Like you can like vividly picture everything that they're talking about, like within the context of the game.
Yeah.
And all right. I
That's
don't want
like
to see.
that's one of the original images for it,
Yeah.
even though with a terrible fate.
Mhm. Yeah, and I like how in part of it they're like, oh, I was really tired and like I'm kind of fucked up from everything I was seeing, so that's why there's typos. Like I like how they kind of like made a reason for like if
Yeah.
maybe there's grammatical errors. Oh, I don't know. All right, we're gonna go back to a little bit of, have some a little bit of light here now. Um, but yeah, that was the Ben Drowned creepypasta. Only
Yay.
two parts of it, but still, that was a pretty significant chunk. Brennan, thanks for reading that with me.
If you want a good telling of the story, I would recommend going to the Peanut Butter Gamer and looking at his video on Ben
And
Drowned.
now that I have some more context for the story, I can watch the Peanut Butter Gamer video and probably get more out of it. Um, and yeah, if any of you watching out there are interested in reading more, it's obviously on the Creepypasta Fandom Wiki. You can read all 5 parts of it, and there's shit ton of videos online talking about it. So whatever tickles your fancy. Um, And thus concludes the Halloween special of Chit Chats this year. So thank you guys for watching. Brendan, thank you for being here. Brendan, like, what are your thoughts on the Ben Drowned creepypasta? Like, how would you rate it and all that?
I love the Ben Drowned creepypasta. Creepypastas have always been something that I've been into for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorites will always be Death the Killer, the original Slenderman, Chicky Toby, Masky Hoodie. But I always really liked Ben Drowned because it was one of the creepy stories that I read all these times, but it was about one of my favorite games too.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like a combination of
So
of your two favorite things, like sort of like the horror genre and Zelda. So I feel like
yeah.
it was like made for you almost.
I looked a lot into, and so one of the best things that it talked a little bit in because I before we started I did a scroll through of the creepypasta
Uh-huh.
on my phone.
Yeah.
One of the things it talks about that we didn't get to in the um, post because this is a long creepypasta. It's one of the original like really
Mm-hmm.
long ones.
Yeah.
There's a scene. Um, there's a part of it when do you remember Cleverbot?
No.
It was an old
It sounds
AI
familiar.
it was an old AI you could talk to.
Okay.
It was like one of the first I like responsive AI things
I
you
think
could talk.
that sounds sort of familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was called Cleverbot, and you could just talk to it.
Sure.
And
Mhm.
in the telling of this story, at one point he says that he started a chat room with a Cleverbot, and he was just talking to it, and it all of a sudden it brought up the name Ben,
Oh yeah.
and he was like, "How do you know about that?" And then it like tries to avoid the question, and he goes, "It's like who is Ben?" And it's like, you know who Ben is. And then it's like, how did he die? And it responds with, he drowned. And he has a
Oh my
couple
god.
conversations with a Cleverbot. And what's creepy is that probably just because of the influence of this story,
Uh huh.
back in the old days when you used to start a conversation with Cleverbot, you could ask it, uh, who is Ben? And it would respond with just the words, he drowned.
Oh no way. They actually like
Yeah.
programmed it to do that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
and
actually really
so
cool. Yeah.
And so, I didn't know that at the time, and it freaked me out because it was just, it was a creepy story
Yeah.
that I read and knew. And so one day when I was just talking about it, and I loaded up a AI with Cleverbot, I went, "Who is Ben?" And it just responded with the words, "He drowned."
Dude, I would have fucking pissed myself if that happened to me. Holy
And
shit.
I was like, "Holy shit!" I don't know if they programmed it to do that or if it just it was an AI. So I don't know if it learned from all the
Yeah.
people
Oh my
asking.
god.
I don't know if it just learned from all the people asking it because he talks about Doug Cleverbot chat in that story.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if he just got the Cleverbot AI learned and got so used to people asking, or
Yeah.
for all we know, multiple people could have asked it "Do you know Ben?"
Uh huh.
And then you'd be like, "Who?" And they could say Ben drowned, and they could have associated those words and then just figured it out on its own,
Right. Yeah.
and would have made it to where it's um, "Who is Ben?" or "How did Ben die?" And it would just respond with "He drowned," and it was creepy as shit.
Yeah. That is really fucking creepy, dude. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was really good. Yeah, I don't know. I have much more of an appreciation for that creepypasta now that I've read a good chunk of it. But yeah,
It
I
is
will.
it is definitely one of my one of my favorites, that's for sure.
Mhm,
It is probably my I love Jeff. I love the original story of Jeff the Killer too much. So that's probably my favorite.
mhm.
But he's probably Ben Drown is probably like my. I don't know. For me, it's a combination
All right,
between
next
Ben.
video, creepypasta tier list, guys. Be there for that. It's gonna happen. Just kidding, not gonna happen. All right, guys. Well, either way, thank you guys for watching this episode of Chit Chats. Brennan, thank you for being here, and we will see you guys in the next episode of Chit Chats. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? Okay.
What?